So the Suns are about to start a road trip. Rapid fire. Which one of the PHNX Suns crew would you trust to drive the least across country? Steven, go.
The least?
The least.
You.
Okay, Espo?
You.
Gil?
I'm just going to say you.
That's fair enough. Let's start the show. Psychos and sickos unite for a Culture Clash edition of the PHNX Suns pregame show, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Of course, I'm the least trustworthy driver on planet Earth. I'm Eric. That's Gil. We got Espo. We got Steven and the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Of course, none of the magic happens without all of you filing into chat early for the PHNX Suns, starting a road trip with a chance to go 10 games above 500. We'll get into all of it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become a member today, like Ashley, like Sean, like Matt to the power of Joe, like Mugen, like Kara. Aiden, you were a member. I don't know what's going on over there, but we trust that you'll come back to the light side. But how are you all feeling as the PHNX Suns get ready to take on another team built off of culture in the Heat?
SpongeBob Big Pants, let's go.
That's right. As a wise philosopher once said.
Feeling good. Nice little early start here. First of 6 over the next 10, 11 days. So hopefully the Suns have adjusted to the time change and being down at South Beach. Hopefully South Beach doesn't win this game.
I don't think it will have been allowed the chance to, considering the travel.
Yeah.
But we've seen wilder things happen in South Beach. So this game is always a barometer for where your team is. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to get into everything. We're going to talk about how the Suns match up with the Heat. We'll talk about what Jordan Ott had to say about Jalen Green and Jamari Bouye as well. But first, from Dwayne Rankin, who talked to the guys earlier today after a shoot-around, asked Devin Booker about the All-Star voting, and Devin Booker said, yes, he understands that there are guys who have international fan bases, big fan bases behind him, but said, and I quote, "Am I playing better than a lot of guys? For sure. But that's not the setup." Kind of feels like Book has come to terms with the fact that fan voting is not going to be his strong suit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's only happened a million times already to him. It's like Lucy and Charlie Brown in the football. There's only so many times you can pull that bad boy out from under Charlie before he realizes, oh, crap, this ain't going to work. Fan voting is not going to work in Devin Booker's favor, and that is the unfortunate truth about it. But we know that coaches and players have the utmost respect for him, so there is still a shot that he'll wind up in the game.
Yeah, popularity contest, and obviously Devin Booker's a popular player. He's got his own sneaker, pretty cool sneaker at that. But I think that it speaks to some of the fans. I think they're still not really privy to what's going on with the Suns and this PHNX team. We were talking about it beforehand. This team has one of the top 10 records in the NBA, and he's a big reason why they have a top 10 record in the NBA. And there's nothing that says all-star more than that. But I think that fans, the more and more this Suns team wins, and winning cures everything, the more people will be paying attention. I think that popularity will increase. But like you said, he knows what it is.
I think he knows the attention that he wants is the ones that's going to come with winning.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll come, the reverence and respect will come from the Suns having maybe a top 10 record at the All-Star break, which will demand for him to be a participant in the All-Star game. But I think, funny enough, his personality doesn't seem like it's one that feels like it needs the validation of people outside of the franchise he's directly working with to rank him according to where other players are. He knows what he does, and he knows what he does for his team. And the reasons why they're as good as they are and have been is because he's been doing those well.
It's kind of sucked for him, though, in terms of it feels like the kind of the standard has been changed every time he meets it. It's all of a sudden, oh, well, you got to win.
All over the place.
Yeah, you got to be able to pass. Oh, you got to play defense. And every time he does it, something else comes up. And now it's, well, these other guys. That's like that's the excuse right now is, well, other guys. Yeah.
It's always something with Book. It has been his whole career.
We will definitely be talking about guys that have not been playing better than Devin, that are ahead of him in the All-Star ranks right now.
And we'll get the final fan vote tomorrow. We'll let you know what that is over on PHNX Suns on Twitter. You know, the unfortunate thing is I know he maybe doesn't care about the popularity contest, but All-Stars is a pretty big thing that people use to determine Hall of Fame candidacy. And like Devin Booker's an all-time franchise leading scorer. I think he's somebody who could make it into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He doesn't have a lot of All-Star appearances for a variety of different reasons, and 2 of those All-Star appearances were replacements, even though they don't really mean anything differently. It'd be nice for him to continue to maybe stack them up now that he's in his prime, and I think that's why this road trip and this next couple of weeks of play for the Suns is really important, and that starts with tonight against the Miami Heat. Of course, we know Devin Booker will be playing, but no Jalen Green. Let's take a look at the injury report, of course, presented by our friends over at the Husband and Wife Law Team. If you've had a serious injury, call the Husband and Wife Law Team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at husbandandwifelawteam.com. Taking a look at things over on the Miami Heat side of things, Tyler Hero is available. Norman Powell is available. That's a pretty big 1-2 scoring punch for them. Pele Larson is also available. Terry Rozier, for reasons that maybe don't revolve around an injury, will be missing this game. On the Suns side of things,
I'm willing to bet he's not back at all this year.
You know what? I think that's a good bet.
You feeling risky today, huh?
Bet.
Rolling the dice. Huh?
For the Suns, no Jamari Bouye, no Jalen Green. Now, Coach Ott on Jalen Green pregame said, quote, he's there. He's progressed to playing with some players and coaches, so we'll just keep him moving in the right direction, but he's taking steps every day and will continue to assess. He's playing up and down, so that's the final stages of this all. Being out for so long, we're going to be as cautious as we can, but knowing that he's itching to get out there. Jordan Ott also went on to confirm that he will not be playing on Thursday against the Detroit Pistons, but I know that as Suns fans, Gil, we're getting kind of antsy about seeing Jalen Green, but this is about what we expected. Nobody thought he'd be back in the next 2 games.
Right. I don't think any of us expected that. And also, I mean, thinking about the context of it all, right? We talked about this trip, and it's not a quick flight from Phoenix to Miami, and it's also not a quick flight from Miami to Detroit. So it would make sense potentially. We know nothing about when it's going to be, but if there were a time to bring somebody back on the road, it would be the games where they don't have to travel at all. So they play the Knicks and Nets back-to-back in the same city, different boroughs, but same city. So that could be a time where I maybe have my eye on it. And it's just a progression of what we saw. They're taking a cautious approach. They're showing him to the fans. He's working out. He's looking good out there as well. So we're at that final step, and it's good to hear that he's there.
Well, and then it's Philly right after that, which is a quick trip down the road as well. No major travel. So if they bring him back this road trip, I think you're 100% right. That's the pocket that you do it in.
Yeah, that makes the most sense at this point. I think there'll be an opportunity in alignment with Gil's point to have him work out and do a little bit more training just because you're eliminating the long distance traveling, specifically to flights. So being able to get more work on the court end and then move around from there should help him.
Yeah, I'm excited for him to come back. I've just come to peace with the fact that it'll happen when it happens. If it's on this road trip, which Jordan Ott said that they expect, but they can't guarantee, that'll be great. If not, when he comes back, this team will be ready. This team continues to win despite that. This is a team that has won 3 in a row, looking for their 4th straight win tonight. They are currently tied for the 5th seed with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, both the Lakers and the Suns play tonight. Of course, Phoenix takes on Miami. The Lakers are on the 2nd night of a back-to-back at home against the Hawks. Big shout out to the Kings, who took care of business against the Rockets and took care of business against the Lakers. Now, if the Lakers lose tonight, the Suns win. The Suns will outright be the 5th seed. So that, for me, is why I'm pretty high for my Suns must-win meter. Let's go ahead and take a look at where we're standing as a group. I'm at a 9.9. I am the absolute highest. 2 coming in at 8.5. That's Gil and Ayrton. 2 coming in at an 8. And Espo averaging out to an 8.6. Steven, you're at an 8. Why not higher?
Because this is not a gotta have it. You start getting over 8s, these are games that you have to have. This is one that will be really timely and really great to have. Be okay with me giving it an 8.
No, I'll never be okay.
I wouldn't expect any other answer.
Espo, you're at an 8 too.
Ditto. I mean, essentially, if they lose, okay, fine. It's not you gotta have it in that way. And if we know anything, the Lakers are going to Laker. So they're going to find a way to continue to lose, even if you don't get it tonight. Now, do I want them? Hell yeah, I want them to. And you'll see why in my bet as well. But I think that this is a game that would be very nice to have. you have a very good shot at it, but I'm not going to walk away dejected if you don't get it.
I'm so proud. When I first got here, we were like, oh, it's too early to be looking at the standings. Now we're like watching the scoreboard every night of what's going on. We haven't even met the halfway point of the season. I went 8.5 for some of the reasons y'all said, but I get the 0.5 bonus in one. Let's start this trip off on the right note.
Yep.
And also, you've won 3 straight. They've lost 3 straight. So you got some momentum on your side while they're trying to figure some things out. So gives it a little bit of boost for me. Make it a little more of a one that you want to have.
Yeah, the standings thing is part of the reason why I'm high. I'm always high on the Suns must-win meter, except for the one time I didn't go at 10 and you guys gave me crap.
No, because if you're doing it, then do it.
I
Otherwise,
am doing it. I'm
Commit to
buying
the
it.
bit.
I am. This isn't a bit. This is real life. This is reality. And your point, Gil, the Miami Heat have not been playing great basketball as of late. In fact, Miami Heat fans are kind of worried about where this team is heading. They're one game above 500, so they could drop down to 500 with a loss tonight. Now, they did lose to the Thunder last game. That's understandable, but they lost to the Pacers in an almost 30-point loss the night before. Before that, they had a postponed game against the Bulls, and they lost to the Timberwolves. They beat the Pelicans, and then they lost to the Timberwolves again, sandwiched in there. Before that, they were winning okay, but when you look at this road trip, there are a lot of teams that are playing pretty good basketball at this time. Miami is not one of them. Now, they're still good, and we'll talk about the threats that they pose. They have good players that are relatively healthy tonight. But when you play a Brooklyn's been playing better basketball as of late than the Miami Heat. So have the Philadelphia 76ers. So have the Atlanta Hawks, right? We know that the Knicks and the Pistons are atop the East. So to be able to pick up a win at the beginning of the road trip against one of the easier teams that you'll be facing on this trip who's been struggling, to me, that's pretty important. And also, 4 wins in a row sounds nice. 10 games over 500 sounds really nice. And yeah, maybe I'm greedy, but I'm okay getting greedy at this point in the season.
I understand that they've played rough basketball, 4 or 5 they've lost, but it's also still a pretty talented roster
Yes.
when you compare it to some, at least a handful of the other teams.
And well
they're gonna
coached.
play on this trip. Yeah, I mean it is Heat culture after
Oh.
all. So you can't take it too lightly. But they are struggling more than other teams on the trip for sure.
offensively,
Yes,
yes, because defensively, they still have one of the probably, in my opinion, 5 best point of attack defenders, Davion Mitchell. Obviously, Bam Adebayo. He should have significantly more defensive player of the years than he actually has right now. Obviously, Kelly Ware around that as well. Eric Spoelstra, defensive-minded coach too. There's a lot there. This team is top 10 defensively. I think they were 6th last time I checked, maybe 5th. But they're a team that really gets after it. They put pressure on you in different ways, and it leads to their offense. But you still got to get it done. This team's not going to roll over, and they have a culture, which means there's a standard that's always going to be met.
So, Steven, I believe the Suns are 1 spot lower than the Miami Heat in just overall defensive rating this year. So these are 2 defenses. We've talked about how good the Suns have been. But you mentioned the offense. For those who don't follow the NBA as a whole, the Miami Heat offense has been a really interesting story to follow this season. They basically reinvented themselves and are doing some things that not a lot of other teams are. For those who aren't keeping up with Miami Heat basketball, how has Eric Spoelstra and company evolved their offensive approach this year?
Yeah, this has been getting a lot of attention. It's not new. It's not new. It's just seen less on the NBA level than it is on like college or high school. And it's just a dribble drive motion offense. A guy drives here, everybody else moves in accordance. If he doesn't go that way and he goes the other way, everybody else moves in unison with that. And there's time cuts within all of that to kind of undo some of the things that a lot of defenses like to do. But they still run pick and roll too. Like they're running by far the least. They're the only team in the league that hasn't run 1,000 pick and rolls so far, and they're at like 770 something right now. So they're significantly behind the rest of the group for sure. And they keep a lot of movement going on. Some of the things the Suns do, they've taken that and they've just added like a times 20 multiplier to it. I think it's Noah LaRoche that's one of the pieces that's bringing what he brought to Memphis last season to the grid or to the Heat now. Naturally, they're interested in Ja Morant because of that, a player that ran that offense last year. But yeah, they would like to drive the basketball. First in drives per game. I think they're second in points from drives per game. And they get a lot done off of the drives. And I think Davion Mitchell needs more attention because you look at the elite drive numbers, his name is just mixed in with all of these guys that you would expect. a name that's not expected there, and his efficiency is as good as anybody's there too.
How does that impact your defensive approach, though, against a team that doesn't run
A
a
lot.
lot of pick and roll?
A lot. It's a bigger demand on one-on-one defense. It's the ultimate test of can you guard your yard, which will lead to the keys. But if you can't stay in front of your man, and then you have to have someone help you, that help where it's typically going to just be a kick out pass, a predictable one, is a backdoor cut. It's all synced up. A guy drives here, this defender steps there, someone's cutting right behind them at a certain type of timing. And if they help over for that, that means someone in the corner's open. So it's like just a snappy cadence to what they do.
You mentioned it not being that new, and excuse me, the dribble drive offense. I thought back to like a long time ago in a basketball camp, and they're talking about how John Calipari was never going to win a national championship running that offense in college. Well, that didn't age well. But I think about who is in this Heat offense: Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. So these are guys who were doing this during their college days, now getting a chance to do it at the professional level. So they're finding success and comfort in that. Probably allows the other 2 or 3 guys that are out there in those actions with them to feel a little more comfortable and find place in those spots and be successful, probably quicker than they would have if they were just installing it for guys who had not done it ever before.
Well, and Gil, I think when people talk about NBA offense, they sometimes dumb it down like, oh, everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. They're spamming the same thing, which isn't
the
true.
exact example of just that, right?
It's not true overall, but there are like certain patterns in the league that a lot of teams adopt when they see that it starts to work. Now, Miami is kind of the first to buck that trend. From a player's perspective, when you're so used to guarding certain types of offenses and then all of a sudden you're preparing and playing a team that completely throws a curveball, how much harder is it to prepare for that game and execute? Because a lot of this is just muscle memory. I think about like when somebody's guarding Manu and he's left-handed, you're not really thinking about it because everybody's usually right-handed. How much does that curveball affect you as a player?
It's a big shock because typically, you basically spend that entire prep in between, so the Suns played this weekend, you spend that entire prep gearing up for something that's basically very different than what you typically see. And it's almost kind of like just like very like this one episode of like, hey, we spend the next 48 hours focusing on this. And I know they'll see the Heat later again this month, but drill it, watch a lot of film, kind of say, hey, we normally do this, but for this specific case, you're going to do this. And like I think about like teams who run a lot of zone, which the Heat might run some zone tonight as well. So think about it on both sides. That's what kind of makes the Heat so difficult to deal with in addition to their physicality and stuff. They do so many things that you typically don't see on a night-to-night basis. You kind of just have to have this specific Heat prep for that 48 hours that you're preparing for them, then get away from it.
Steven, let's get into the keys for tonight's game because we could talk about it all we want, but the Suns are going to have to execute a couple different things in order to pull out a win.
First one, key number 1 being guard your yard. Miami's first in drives, second in points, fourth in blow-by percentage, meaning a lot of the drives that they generate are guys putting pressure on the paint and pressure on the rim, which gets the defense in rotation, leads to open shots or fouls. So you want to contain the ball. You contain the ball, you make everything else a whole lot easier to navigate defensively, keeping the complex things as simple as possible. Number 2, impactful support and rim protection. Again, if you guard your yard, you don't have to protect the rim or support your guy on the ball. So those two kind of go in tandem with one another. And then the last one, because Miami's defense is so stingy, they don't force a lot of turnovers, but they're just very disciplined and sharp. You can't allow for them to be defending you comfortably. Put pressure on them, go get paint touches, get to the rim, and generate the shots that you want from there.
Which one that stands out to you the most, Espo?
Well, I think it's the rim protection for sure, but I'm surprised that you didn't have anything on the rebounding side with how effective this Miami team is on the glass. I mean, they have both Ware and Adebayo that are almost at 10 apiece there. That seems like another thing tonight that you're going to have to be very on par for too.
It definitely is, but I just if they can just stay in front of the ball, it makes everything so much easier for me. I feel like specific to this matchup, that was it. But yeah, rebounding. I
shouldn't question the three. The three keys.
Rebounding is very important though, for sure. That's possessions.
Especially because the Suns have been such a strong offensive rebounding team, but a very weak defensive rebounding team. You've got a guy in Kel'el Ware that is going to crash the glass. He's also really big. I wonder what the defensive matchups are going to be. Gil, who would you put Mark Williams on tonight if Kel'el Ware and Bam Adebayo are sharing the court together?
I lean Bam. I know we talk so much about 3-point shooting bigs, and Khalil doesn't shoot them at a extremely high volume, but kind of what we talked about. If you shoot it at this clip, you maybe should be shooting more. Be shooting 42% on just under 3 attempts per game this season. So we've talked about that in the past, right? Like the indecisiveness or the indecision with Mark. Do I close out? Do I don't? Do I not? And what that means for the rest of the defense as far as their aggression at the point of attack and knowing whether or not they have help behind him. So thinking about it from that level, but also knowing that Bam operates a lot running the offense as a hub, and that's a little bit difficult to deal with as well, but I don't think it's as difficult from deciding whether or not he should close out for three-pointers. So the other thing I'm concerned about and just thinking about, especially giving the Heat's ability to run those two big lineups, avoiding foul trouble. Right. Like we haven't really had those discussions in a while with Mark, and we know that he's playing limited minutes anyway, but the worst possible thing could be him getting caught in tough positions and he picks up 2 fouls, which already messes up his rotation and limits his minutes even more. So I have my eye on that as well.
How tough is it with those two big lineups and the threat of being able to shoot or running the offense to have that rim protector that you're talking about in those keys? Because if they pull Mark away from the basket, how's this defense going to answer to that? Because you don't really have that second larger guy out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it comes down to your guards. All of your guards have to chip in, and that's largely hasn't been an issue for them, but it has showed up in timely or untimely moments, rather. So they want to make sure they're getting all 5 guys crashing the glass and putting a body on somebody on the defensive glass in particular.
Now, Khalil Ware not starting tonight, and if you look at the comments of the Miami Heat's tweet about it, fans are not happy with their expulsion in that sense. Their starting 5 is Davion Mitchell, who you talked about earlier, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, who's back. Norman Powell, potential all-star
He is
this year with the way that he's been hooping. Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo. Now, I would imagine Khalil and Bam still share the floor together, but Andrew Wiggins is a name that we haven't brought up tonight. And I think when you talk about number 1 overall picks, the word bust gets thrown around, I think, a little bit too loosely. Now, Andrew Wiggins is certainly not a guy that, with the way that he plays, you imagine a number 1 pick ending up to play that way, but he is one of the better defenders in the NBA. Steven, do you think that Book is being guarded by Andrew Wiggins tonight, Davion Mitchell, or a different option?
Yes.
Who's the primary defender?
Yes. Everybody's getting turns. He's not going to see the same coverage, let alone the same primary defender. So, no, I don't think it'll be a large lump sum of any specific person just because they have some personnel that they can kind of cycle through on them. But the Suns are also doing things to detach guys too. So Davion picks him up full court. Okay, cool. We'll just give it to Gillespie. He initiates. By the time Devin gets it, Wiggins might be guarding Devin because of switches that take place. So he might get the start on him, Wiggins, but I imagine we see a few guys, including Bam, on Devin.
I'm fascinated to see the chess match tonight. A lot of people in the chat have brought up the fact that these are 2 guys that came up through the film room. Right? A lot of strategery that goes on between these 2 gentlemen, and I think that's going to be one of the more fascinating things tonight on the defensive end. How do you mix that up? But just how they counter each other.
I'm interested to say, like, thinking about the chess match too, and I know that there have been some injuries that have kind of like impacted the lineup. This is the 6th time they've run that lineup this year, and thinking about similarities, right? They go with Wiggins, who is, kind of a 3-4 guy that matches Dillon Brooks' size, like thinking about the multiple guard lineup. So it kind of feels like an adjustment to counteract what the Suns have done so well with their starting unit. So I'll be curious to see, kind of like you said, who makes the first move and who adjusts first based on this chess match.
AIA edits in the chat with a $4.99 super chat. Always good to see you. Says, I'm calling it right now. We're winning every game this road trip. If the Suns do it, then after the Hawks game, y'all need to say I called it.
Put a pin in that.
We will do that. We hope that they do win every single game. We'll give our predictions for tonight here momentarily. But first, let's get into our pre-game picks presented by our friends over at Bet365. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit 10, place a bet for 5, get $200 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Speaking of problemgambling.az.gov, I'm at a minus 111.25. Not alone in the negative, though. Espo at a minus 30. Gill under 100 at a plus 72.12. Ayrton in second place at a plus 41.50. I got my bet in at the buzzer tonight. I'm feeling pretty good about it, honestly. I got Colin Gillespie over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think this is a bounce-back game for Colin in South Beach. I got Oso Ighodaro over half of a steal. He's been doing that a lot recently. And I got Ryan Dunn over 6.5 points and assists at a plus 410, plus a 50% profit boost. I like my odds on that one. It wouldn't get me out of the negative, but it would get me around where Espo is if he doesn't hit his bet tonight.
I'm not worried about either. Mine is the perfect night parlay.
Wait, what? Are we allowed to do this?
Suns money line, Bulls money line, Hawks money line.
Are we allowed to take the money line of other teams?
Why not? Never been told we couldn't. And this
Can I do like a parlay in another game?
This is all Suns involved though, because if that all happens, the Suns have gained a bigger cushion against the Rockets. They are now ahead of the Lakers. This is all good for the Suns. That's where I'm going tonight. And I only did it because it was related to the Suns. And as Hello says, Espo is the GM. He can do what he wants. So
we're gonna have to check the rule book on that one. Gil, what are you putting your money on tonight?
All right, we got a big first half scoring for the Suns, over 56.5 first half points. Light bounce back from Dillon Brooks, 20-plus points for him, Tyler Hero. I did this not knowing whether or not Norman Powell will be playing, but it stands over 14.5 points for him. And then Devin Booker, primary creators, he's been creating well, and also primary creators find success against this Heat defense. So I'm going with him, 7+ assists. That is a plus 360. Plus a 50% profit boost. So hopefully I can have a bounce back game too.
I'm rooting for you. You're not cheating the system. Is the Freckled Mamba cheating the system? What are you putting?
I love that he's rooting against his own self-interest by me picking teams that will the Suns.
But like that's the thing is now you've put me in this spot where I don't want that to happen.
Well, look,
you're making.
Maybe that's half the genius of why I did it. Just
I guess so.
Against your own self-interest.
I guess so. I would feel better about it if you were in the positive, but you're in the negative with me. So I don't know if you cursed it. So I guess we now have somebody to blame if that doesn't happen. This is what the Freckled Mamba is putting his money on tonight. He's taking the Suns minus 4.5 points on the spread. Taking Devin Booker 20+ points, Devin Booker 7+ assists, and Dillon Brooks 15+ points at a plus 425 with a 50% profit boost. You're taking, I don't know if that's the actual spread or the alternate spread. Let's take a look at the line with our friends over at Bet365. So it's an alternate spread for the Suns, who are technically dogs on the road, but not really. A +1 on the spread, minus 110 on the money line. Miami, minus 115 on the money line, -1 on the spread, about as close as it can possibly be. Let's give our score predictions for tonight. We're going Suns across the board. Suns get to 10 games above 500. Steven, 111 to 107. Espo, 115 to 114. Gil, 119 to 110. And I'm going a high-scoring affair, 126 to 118. Espo, close win, 1-point win.
I agree with the odds makers. 1 point. This is going to be extremely close. This will be a master class in matchups tonight by these two coaches. I think we're in for a fun one.
I mean, for me, the Suns have been holding teams significantly lower than their regular season average from the turn of the calendar, so over the last 6 games. And I think that continues tonight. I don't think they'll score as freely as they have in recent games either, because Miami is a very physical, very, very physical, and very disciplined team as well on the defensive end. So I think it's going to be a rock fight in many ways. The Suns, I think, will win it, but I think it's going to come with some work.
I think momentum matters. And we talked about the streaks that each team is on. And I think the Suns are a team who see an opportunity to attack while this Heat team is licking its wounds a little bit. So I know getting back home for Miami is going to be big for them to just play back in front of their home fans when they are able to get through traffic and get into the building. But I still like the Suns' chances because of the momentum.
Yeah, 13 of the Miami Heat's 20 wins this season have been at home. They are 13-6 at home, which is a pretty good record. The Suns 10-10 away. They would be over 500 on the road, which after how they started the season would be a pretty impressive feat. Final thoughts.
Being 500 on the road is definitely a positive.
Yeah, especially I think they started off 0-4, 0-5 on the road. Final thoughts on a culture clash in South Beach tonight.
Grab the boards, play your game, and sneak out of Miami with a win.
Have some fun, and take care of business. Get this trip started on the right note.
Royce O'Neal continuing his heater would be very important for them winning this game tonight.
Oh, and remember that white powder isn't sugar.
No, and pray that Asia Wilson isn't courtside. We'll be following along with the game on Twitter at PHNX_Suns. Make sure you're always following that on Twitter and Instagram for live updates, injury updates, fun memes, everything in between from the PHNX Suns account. We appreciate the Freckled Mamba behind the Mac making all of the magic happen. You can follow him at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steve at StevenPG3. That's Steven with the PH. You can follow Espo at Espo. You can follow Gil at Gil McGregor _. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We'll be back to hopefully talk about a team that's 10 games over 500.
Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.